Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's segment of Ask Kim. So, when you ask me a question, Kim in this body as a human on this planet doesn't really have the answers to what you want to know. I literally receive them from what I call universal wisdom or universal consciousness. Or anyone else who wants to pop in, I can pretty much talk to any or receive information from any energy within the universe. If anyone ever wants me to reach out to anyone that they know on the other side or anything, you can actually book a session with me and I can do that with you. If you want a reading about anything, I can also do that. But for these exercises and for a lot of the work that I do, I actually ask the universe. So it is Ask Kim and Ask the Universe. Today, what we have been given as a question that I need to ask the universe for you on your behalf is, why as humans do we come down to Earth and experience so much struggle? You might call it struggle, you might call it adversity, whatever you call it. If you can look at yourself as a soul that has come into a body and come onto a planet, if you look at that before you come down into this body, you are an unlimited being. You are literally pure energy as a soul that is floating around. You also have an awareness of a deeper connection with the universe as a whole, and you actually do, as this unlimited being, have a connection as yourself being part of the universe. Literally, when you're outside of this body and this physical planet, you actually know yourself as just energy, and you know everything else as just energy. So you can be anything, go anywhere. Well, I was going to say do anything, but actually that's only for when you're on Earth are you allowed to do something. Because when you're floating around in a body, when you're floating around as a spirit or as a soul in the universe, you're just floating around. You can, when you see yourself as one with the universe, that oneness has such a connection and a deeper connection to what they call unconditional love, that the soul just wishes to have something different. Because when you're everything and nothing in a universe that's unlimited and infinite, sometimes the soul just goes, if this is all there is, I need to experience more, or something. Maybe more is not really the word, but something a little bit different. So it chooses an incarnation on Earth to not only do something in a physical body on a physical planet, but to have experiences as the opposite of infinite, if you want to call it that. So a lot of the experiences are on Earth are based around what they call duality or polarity, whereas the opposite of being infinite, the opposite of being everything and having everything and connected to everything. So the first thing we need to look at is the fact that we are individual beings on this planet. And that shows us again that being at one with the universe on what you call the other side, being on this planet, we need to have a experience of separation or of being different. But what actually happens is you have your unlimited soul come into this physical body. So in actual fact, you've got two things going on here. You've got this physical body that you're dealing with. You also then have a soul that is that infinite side of you. And that's how come sometimes you'll actually have two different voices going on in your head. You might have the voice that goes, good on you, you can do it. That is your soul that is saying that. The voice that goes, you can't do it and that you're hopeless, not good enough, is either a a connection of, or a collection of, the voices of when you were growing up, but also what we call the human mind, which is the ego, which actually helps to keep us in our human state. If we went into universal consciousness as a soul, we wouldn't have the experience of the opposite of who we are, and that is why we're here. So this is why apparently when babies are born, they scream for the first part of their life, because all they know is of themselves as infinite beings. And now they've been squished into little bodies, and they have to deal with being squished into a limited body. Then as we get older, we again are dealing with different things as being limited, because that's the experience that we are here to have. Now, as in our human mind, we don't want to be limited, and we all talk about being unlimited and having these different experiences. However, when you have incarnated here as on this planet, you have actually chosen to be the opposite of who you really are. So that is the basis of why we struggle and have adversity, is because before we came down, we were given what I call themes. However those themes play out, and whatever vehicles and people come along to help you to have those experiences, they are all different, because again, we're having the experience of being separate to each other. What we can do to help ourselves on this journey is to remember that, number one, we are all connected. That's the first absolute knowing and truth that we can connect to help us deal with our struggle as a human on this planet. When you realize that you are energy and everyone else is energy, and even the things, the air, the tables, the everything else is all just energy, and you say it is all the same as me, what actually then happens is you step out of the polarity and you step out of the duality of and the separation. So there are three main things that keep us struggling, is the differences. Once you step into that, what I call the finite connection piece, which is the energy, what then happens is it gives you a little bit of a chance to start to deal with this thing without using destructive coping mechanisms. So the first thing you can do is to connect to yourself as being energy, as well as everything else in the universe. And that is true. You can't actually say that that's not true, because science has actually confirmed that that is what is true. Even when we die and our soul leaves, this body is still energy, and it still actually exists. So we don't actually die. And that is also part of the struggle, is that we fear death, but in actual fact, death isn't real. In some contexts it is, but in others, what death is simply transformation. So death, even from a perspective of this human body, and I look at a human body like me, for example, who's sitting here and talking. If my soul left my body, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk. So that proves to us that we do have two elements, or two main elements of who we are. Our soul is the thing that is here running my body and talking, and my body is just reacting to my soul. If my soul left, my body would then stop. It would just stop. I'll say stop. Stop existing, but not from a place of it disappears. It actually will then start transforming into something else. So my body will in fact start to break down and then turn into the earth that is around us. So again, can you see the oneness in all of this? We are part of the universe, but our bodies are part of the earth, and then we are part of all of it as energy. So If this is true, let's look at struggle and adversity. Now, the thing that I've been shown recently, there's this awesome video where there's a butterfly or a caterpillar that's in a cocoon and it turns into a butterfly. Now, it's having a bit of a struggle to get out of the cocoon. So what happens is a man comes on and goes, oh, the poor butterfly is struggling. I'm going to cut the bottom so it'll let the butterfly come out easily. What then happens is the butterfly dies because it didn't go through the natural processes of the struggle to build up the strength that it needed to fly. So if we relate this back to us and we look at the purpose of struggle, the real purpose of struggle is to learn and to grow. So if we don't have that, then there's no reason to do it unless you just like learning or growing. So when we look at the things, the first thing you can do around this is if you look at the things that you're struggling with at the moment, and it might be money, it might be relationships, it might be health, it might be anything. If you could look at that as what I call the vehicle to your growth, your vehicle to your soul evolution, to growing. And if you can say immediately, that thing is here to help me, instantly it loses its meaning around it being a struggle and it turns into an opportunity. What then happens is you have a chance of changing it. When you see something as an opportunity, and you see it as an opportunity to grow and to learn, you instantly step into what I call the observer. You are observing the thing that you're struggling with. Now, because we have two parts to ourselves, we have our soul and we have our body. Ego. So, and then if you look at the minds, you've got your soul mind, you've got your ego, which is your human mind. When you look at both of those, what's actually happening in a struggle process is the human mind will actually make the struggle hard. The human mind will actually make the struggle more of a drama than anything. And it will make it very hard for you to deal with, which is then what happens is that we end up using coping mechanisms to deal with it. What you can do from a soul perspective, because you still have access to this, your soul wisdom. Everyone has access to their soul wisdom. When you have access to that soul wisdom, you can simply look at the struggle and say from your soul perspective, how can I use this to learn more about why we're here, what I can do? And you will literally receive the answers of what you need to know to deal with this issue. What then happens, and I'm very excited to say, is it turns from adversity and struggle into a challenge or a fun opportunity to learn more and to make a change. What I've actually found in my own transformation is if you adopt something to do something every day that's different. For example, I had a struggle with losing weight. And that to me was a real struggle. What I then did was changed how I saw that and made it into the purpose of actually becoming stronger rather than losing weight. It then became an opportunity to become stronger. And it just took going to the gym every day, eating well every day. And it has to be things that you do every day that become part of your day-to-day lifestyle that you don't even then need to think about. So I don't even think about going to the gym. I don't even think about eating what I'm eating. In fact, I just put a video on my Facebook of saying, you know, this is how I make sure that I eat what I eat. So what then happens is that if this becomes a natural thing for you and you incorporate these small steps into every day that are going to eventually make a difference of this struggle or whatever, you will end up seeing a result. It's the same thing like Einstein said, you know, you can't expect a different result if you keep doing the same thing. So this is another thing that you can do to step out of being stuck or struggle. Number one is to look at it differently and use it as an opportunity. But number two, do something every day that is different to what you've done before that will help you to move out of it being a struggle and making it an opportunity. I also then, and this is the main part of my teaching, is how we can really live from our soul wisdom, our universal wisdom, universal consciousness, while still being a human. And we can still have our human experiences with our soul or our universal wisdom, simply by acknowledging and accepting our human side, but listening to our soul and our universal wisdom. If you have issues with the ego, which is, the human brain, which comes up and tries to protect us and thinks that, that we're going to die every second of every day. And that is its job, is to keep this body safe. If you can look at that simply as your ego and not who you are, and if you can be the observer of the thoughts that the ego will bring up for you, it's actually saying it's not coming from you if you can see the thoughts that are coming up. So if you can really be the observer of everything that's going on, what you can then do is just make really good decisions that will help you to move through anything pretty much. So, and as you're observing things, you have a clear mind, so you're not overthinking, and you can receive more wisdom as to what you need to know. I know it's a bit of a mind scramble, if you want to call it. I did talk about a lot of things today. But if we could just show that, yes, struggle and adversity is and was a purpose for us to learn and to grow here, but we can make it easier for ourselves simply by looking at it as an opportunity to learn and to grow, and then making small changes in every day to shift out of it. It's pretty simple. The other thing is to learn how to speak to your soul and soul wisdom and the universal consciousness. If anyone ever wants to join me with that, just message, and I teach that in all my programs and my sessions. So get onto it. If you are sick of being stuck and struggling, start to do these small little things, and you'll find that it'll make a really big difference. Any questions, pop them below. If you think that this is going to help anyone that is struggling at the moment, please send this on to them. I will see you next week for some more Ask Kim questions. If you've got any questions you'd like to send through to me, pop them to below too, and I'll tackle it next week. See you then. Bye.